Are you prepared to break free from the conventional notions of luxury and wealth? Unlock the secrets to managing and growing family wealth while preserving legacy. Welcome to Beyond Wealth.
Welcome to another episode of Beyond Wealth, Innovating for Life Elevation. Today we're excited to welcome Sarah Hodges to the show. She's going to be talking about her expertise in coaching and personal wellness, having had success in helping companies such as Estate Space and people all over the world improving their personal and professional relationships, their communication, and helping them foster authentic teams with a single aim. I've again had the pleasure of working with Sarah for 2 years, and most importantly, for everyone out there, she's one of the most wonderful people I've ever met. So, Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. That was quite an introduction. I'm already having warm fuzzies. This is going to be weird though, because usually I ask you the questions,
Yeah,
every time we meet.
I kind of like this.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I do. I've been well coached. So, yeah, Sarah, I'd love to just start with a rundown. If you could share with our listeners your company, your role, how long you've been doing this.
Yeah, I run Hodges Coaching. I have lost track now. I've been doing it around 10 years in some capacity. So I started off as a wellness coach and actually a personal trainer back in New York City, which is a spinoff from a previous career as an opera singer. So I've been all over the map in terms of my experience, but have been really dedicated to helping people grow, whether that is through their wellness and now more recently, typically with executives or executive teams and organizations and helping them grow in their personal and professional relationships. So yeah, it's taken a lot of twists and turns, but I feel like I've landed at a place that makes me really happy.
Awesome. And so I'd love to understand a little bit about what inspired you to start Hodges Coaching and kind of how that journey helped kind of shape the services that you're providing today.
I don't know if we've ever talked about this. So, as I said, I had a very diverse background. And I actually, as part of that, I also lost 90 pounds. So, between opera singing and becoming a personal trainer, my own weight loss sort of bridged that gap. And when I was doing personal training, I became much more interested in human behavior change and wanted to know what did I do differently that helped me lose that weight and keep it off? What were the kind of secrets to my success, so to speak? And so I looked back and I sort of reverse engineered how I did it and the unique ways in which I approached it. And what's fun is that I started testing that on my clients. I'm a huge nerd, so I started digging into data and research to understand what I did that was unique. And then through my testing, I developed the A+ method that I use today.
Awesome. And I know that, like physical, mental, emotional well-being is something that, I'm just a huge fan of, and, hope that everybody's out there is really making efforts to continue to improve that part of their life. Can you talk a little bit about like your coaching philosophy, and maybe how that influences how you're working with your clients?
Yeah, my coaching philosophy is, I would say, paradoxical. So I am very direct, as you know. I can be very hardcore, but it's done with so much compassion, so much empathy for the client. And really, my coaching philosophy comes down to leading with that compassion and empathy, both for yourself and others. And of course, it starts at the home base. So teaching people that language, a lot of us have pretty loud inner critics. And a big part of wellness is developing a healthy relationship with ourselves. So we want to take care of ourselves. So we really listen to that sort of angel on the shoulder versus the demon, so to speak.
Mhm.
And when you develop a healthier inner monologue, you often develop healthier communication styles with other people as well. And so that I would say is what really differentiates me from other coaches is that I really focus on that compassionate and empathetic voice first and foremost, but it doesn't stop there. There's also a lot of focus around setting boundaries, making sure that we have healthy relationships, and setting boundaries and being clear about those boundaries is a big piece of that. And how that shows up in our personal relationships or with our internal relationships with ourselves or in our relationships in our organizations can look different, but it all leads back to that same fundamental philosophy.
Yeah, and something that I've experienced as far as kind of starting with yourself, it allows you to then branch out and have success with others, and something that might not be something that everybody knows about.
Yeah, and what I think people don't realize and why it's paradoxical is that this really leads to resilience. So people talk about stress management all the time, but stress management isn't necessarily reducing stresses. That's part of it. It's also becoming more resilient to stress. And paradoxically, compassion and empathy can help us become more resilient to stress. So we think we have to be more hardcore, right? But it's actually more about being kind to ourselves. And walking people through that and sort of retraining them, I use a ton of behavioral neuroscience in my coaching. That's probably another important differentiating factor. But walking them through that with behavioral neuroscience to support us talking about the brain and how it works, that's also another differentiating factor and is part of what builds my coaching philosophy.
Yeah, and when you talk about resiliency, just like maybe a real world example is that you're never going to eliminate stress or worry, but it's in that moment, how quickly can you get back to center, right?
Mhm. Yep, homeostasis, exactly. And how much can you draw on resources and support and help from other people to get through whatever stressor you're dealing with? I think a lot of people try to go it alone and again just be hardcore. I can deal with it, I can sustain it, and they forget to ask for help. They forget to be kind and compassionate with themselves, and that will actually help them get through it much easier.
Yeah, and just a minute ago, you kind of mentioned you focus on executives, but can you kind of talk about your target audience, and then how that might expand outside of just the executive?
Yeah, I do coach executives. I've also coached teenagers, to be completely honest. I've coached ultra high net worth families, and I've coached entrepreneurs. Really, what connects them all is that these are people who want to get to the next level, whether that is in their just personal fulfillment, a level in their careers, whatever that means to them. And they're willing to look in the mirror in order to get there. And whatever reason brings them to coaching is really not important to me. What's important to me is what's going to make them feel more fulfilled, what's going to make them feel like they have blasted through whatever glass ceiling that they found themselves in, and are they willing to do the hard work and look in the mirror.
Yeah, and that imagery changes over time as you continue to look in the mirror year over year, and so um, I'm interested in kind of your thoughts on, like, you meet somebody, you're trying to make sure that they're the right person, but kind of talking maybe a little bit about and giving us some perspective as to kind of what that journey looks like with some of your clients.
It really does look different for everybody. Some people come to me and their number one frustration is a relationship in their life. That could be with a coworker, a partner, a child, or it could be that they just don't feel like they can get to the next level in their career. It could be for a number of things. But what the journey looks like is essentially giving them what they want so that we can ultimately give them what they need. And what they want is going to be short term relief. What they need are the tools to maintain that relief and to get even more peace and fulfillment in their lives. So, again, that process is very dynamic. I use all of my methods, the A plus method, the stress matrix, conversation algorithms, all based in behavioral neuroscience to help them get there from whatever angle they come to me with whatever they want to solve.
Yeah, and I think I want to dive into that tool set a little bit, because I think that is something that really sets you apart in a great way. And for me, those tools are just a continuous improvement, right, on that journey. And so, kind of what was it, the insights of your own life that kind of led you to these exact tool sets that you've developed for Hodges coaching?
Yeah, I think it was the insights of my own life, my own research and education, and then my conversations with clients. I've had thousands of them, which has allowed me to test and refine these tools over time. And it's that dynamic interplay that has allowed me to continue to grow and develop. And there's more growth and development in the future. And in truth, that really models what the coaching process looks like with me. It is a dynamic interplay of different tools and education and personal realizations and a continuous improvement and development where there is no ceiling. And giving people those tools so they can operate that way in life is extraordinarily freeing for them.
Yeah, and once somebody is free, a lot of what you talk about is having a proper aim and helping people to have the tools to achieve that aim, but knowing that that's not a straight line. And so, I'd love to kind of get your perspective on aim in general, and how you're really helping your clients along that path.
Yeah, you're talking fundamentally about the A plus method. And with the A plus method, we use an aim instead of a goal. I joke that the A plus method is the anti-SMART goal because you can't always plan and predict for every curveball life throws at you. You can't plan and predict. You got in an accident this morning because you hit your own tree. Am I allowed to say that? In your driveway.
You just did.
Well,
But
I
I'm
mean, you
but I'm
can
but
delete it out.
I'm okay. So
Um, but the reality is there are just curveballs that come out of nowhere, and some of which are self-inflicted that you don't expect when you go about your day. So aims are actionable and they're a little bit more vague. I want to improve our company's culture. I want to um, work toward closing the gap for this year. It could be anything that you want. I want to lose more weight this year, right? We don't necessarily want it perfectly quantifiable, but we want to know where we're going and we want it to be actionable. And then I use whole brain philosophies about, fully accepting where we're at, acknowledging how that feels, brainstorming crazy changes that we can make to get going on where we want to go, and then committing to something, usually bite-sized steps. And it's continuing through that process, it allows us to get more in touch with ourselves and how we feel and what really matters to us. It helps us stop complaining about what's going wrong because it just is. There's nothing you can do about it. And then it helps us think of new ideas that maybe we never thought of before and feel like we have more of a sense of control, gather those resources, and then take action steps to improve it. And then you gather more information. And what's really cool is that I've found that people make more progress toward their aim this way because it's experiential and it really respects your human experience and it respects that your life is dynamic. And it can also take advantage of opportunities that came your way that you may not have noticed because you were so fixated on exactly the steps you set out to get to your goal, as opposed to working with comes your way that's a surprise.
yeah, and so it's funny that you mentioned that I got in an accident, because I think that's a perfect example of all the things that I've learned. Within about 5 minutes, I was back to center, but it happened, and I was like scared, and then I was disappointed, and then I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that this happened, and then I was able to kind of step back. I cried a little bit, and within I don't know, about 5 minutes, I was back to a state where I'm like, okay, this has happened. I've accepted that it's happened. I'm okay, which is most important. The car will be okay. And now I just have to handle it. And so I can tell you that, a couple of years ago before you, I probably would have been swearing. I would have had, anger, and I would have had all these different emotions that would have taken away my ability to really just deal with that in real time. And spend energy on something for probably much longer than was necessary. And I mean, that happened, 2 hours ago, and here we are doing a podcast together, and I'm, couldn't be more thrilled to have you.
I'm so glad to hear that. And just so you know, anger is also a valid emotion. It's okay to feel anger if you get into an accident, but the fact that you were able to access the softer emotions underneath allowed you to process through that much faster, right? And find your center again. You didn't let it affect your entire day. You didn't blame the tree. You didn't blame what happened prior. It happened. You accepted it. You felt the emotions. And then what do we do next?
I was just
That's
thankful
resilience.
yeah, and I was just thankful to God that I just dropped the boys off on the bus, so it was just me, so no one was hurt, and it's again, just I think a testament to all the great work that we've been able to do together over the last couple of years. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Sorry I brought it up, and at the same time, kind of happy I did.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's just, it really just, can show our listeners that, that's the result of having these aims and being able to redefine success. That was an opportunity for me today. And again, I don't usually talk about myself on the show, but, you've questioned me quite well today. So, um, but, to me, that was an opportunity and I found success in it. And, I can tell you, I can tell everybody I wouldn't have been able to do that without Sarah. So um, appreciate that so much. Yeah. And I always talk to people about over planning. Anything in life can really take away from your agility. And that's the A plus method is very agile. Just for our listeners, it's not just one aim either. So you can have many aims that you're working towards simultaneously in parallel. Can you talk about the kind of the four different main core pieces of your A plus method so that people can get a little bit deeper understanding into that process?
Yeah, sure. And I described it a little bit earlier. So the first step is to accept this is like things are what they are. The economy is what it is, right? You can go as big. I made the mistakes that I made.
Really, you can have many steps and many aims all happening at the same time. And that's kind of the beauty of all of how it sounds like you work with your clients to really be able to kind of bring all that together, where their ultimate aim may be that they just want to be a better human being, right? But
Mhm.
in business and life, many aims, many different dynamics, and it sounds like your methods give you the ability and the agility to help your clients through that process.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's not uncommon for me to hear after a client's worked with me for a year that they self-report an 80%, 90% reduction in stress, 80 to 90% improvement in professional and personal relationships. And that's whatever that means to them, right? But they attribute that to their coaching and to these specific methods. Probably what I get the most jazzed about is when I see the A plus method played out in a group, because you see everyone working together and really being open and honest about how they're feeling, putting it all out on the table, brainstorming in a new and supportive way that's very improvisational. And then everyone's jumping in to pick a task that they're going to complete before the next round. So you have a lot of buy in, you have a lot of self ownership. It's a really fun to see it play out in a group setting.
Yeah, and so yeah, again, maybe you're starting with the executive, now you're expanding to their executive team. But can you also talk about some of the other tactics and methods that you have, like with workshops and offsites? Because I know that you add a lot of value to a lot of your clients there. I'd love to learn a little bit more about that.
Thanks. Yeah, I love to do a good workshop and an offsite. And in those, I typically teach them all three of my tools and how to use them. M- What I really love, though, is after a workshop and offsite, pairing that with longer term group coaching or individual coaching. Because it's one thing to learn it, it's another thing to start to embody it. And I really see change when my clients start to internalize these methods. So they have a conversation using conversation algorithms naturally, and they're forgetting to use it rote, right? Or the way they're thinking about the problem is really in line with the A plus method. And once that internalization happens, that's when I start to see the most results. But certainly the workshops are fun, and it's a great way to get everyone together to learn all the materials at the same time, so they're all testing it and experimenting with it and sucking at it for a while at the same time. And part of that kind of vulnerability is also really bonding for them. But yeah, I do workshops, speaking engagements, and all different types of group coaching, both and individual coaching, virtually and in person.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point that you make. That if you're out there and you feel like maybe this could apply to you and really help, it doesn't have to start with one-on-one sessions. It could be that you want to do a workshop, or you want an offsite, or you want Sarah to come and speak to the group and see how that goes. So another great entry point into a group setting that could ultimately lead to that long-term individual and smaller team goals that you might have for your organization. So, speaking about kind of the future of Hodges coaching, you mentioned that I believe you're writing your thesis right now, and so I'd love to just kind of get your vision on how you're going to evolve, to the next version of yourself and Hodges coaching.
Thank you for asking that. I'm very excited about validating these methods. I go to school at Harvard Extension School, and my plan is to write my thesis on the A+ method in a group setting. I'm not fully writing it yet, but that is my objective. And what I really want to do is, with validating these methods, start to teach CEC credits to other coaches. That way, not just Sarah Hodges, but many coaches are using these methods. They're powerful, they get replicable results. Um, and I want to make sure that as many people can benefit from them as possible.
Well, I can validate you right now. After a couple of years together, we've laughed together, we've cried together, we've gotten to know each other pretty well, and it's been all of these things have been just a result of massive improvement personally, professionally, our team. So it definitely works.
I'm so glad. It's really fun to be interviewed by someone who's experienced all of it. What is it like for you hearing me talk about it, lifting the veil, so to speak?
I mean,
Seeing a wizard.
I would say that, probably my first thought is that it's just what you do is just a beautiful art and science. And I just have come to fully appreciate it. So I've just really enjoyed you being able to hopefully share this with a larger audience. And I just know how wonderful what you do is for so many people.
Thank you.
And somehow she was able to ask me a question on this podcast, which is fantastic. So she did it. Yeah, it's. And speaking of that, it is somewhat of an emotional and mental roller coaster, and I would say that a lot of times it might be the hardest thing is starting. And so I would encourage everybody to start. I think that that's the thing. Once you do that, you're going to find that whether it's Sarah, hopefully it's Sarah, but anybody, I think, I think we're both advocates for people to just reach out and have people that will help improve their lives. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so now I want to go a little bit beyond wealth with yourself. I want to, I'd love to have you share kind of some of the tactics, some of the things that you do personally to stay, in that homeostasis and that happy place, and the things that you do to kind of maintain your own personal well-being.
Yeah, I am a single mom running a business, getting my master's degree. And so, as you can imagine, there's not a lot of free time. I would say that I maintain my wellness with a lot of community, with a lot of laughter and social engagement, deep social engagement, especially with my child and my clients. And I do a lot of convenience things right now, right? So for a long time, I was ordering factor meals. I make sure that I see um, I always forget the name of it, a functional medicine doctor to keep everything running optimally. I make sure I get adequate sleep every night, even if it means that I don't get that last email out. I'm probably owe you a couple of emails, Jonathan, if I were to go through. But really prioritizing my well-being so I can be there for the people I love when it matters most. Um, from a broader perspective, in that dynamic relationship that I've had with my clients, I also learn from them. And one of the things that I've learned in conversation with my clients is really redefining success. And I think that's an essential step to going beyond wealth. What does success feel like to you? I had one client a long time ago who really, really wanted a yacht. And he just wanted a yacht to basically show that he had more money than his dad. And like, that's okay, but I wanted to know, what would that feel like? What is the feeling that you're trying to get? And we talked about that feeling that he was trying to get. And I said, how can you get more of that now? How can you live that feeling of success right now without the yacht? And I tell you what, I just talked to him a couple of weeks ago. He is living the most amazing life. He's rock climbing on a regular basis, like scaling, like the hard stuff. I don't know much about rock climbing, but it looked really hard. Sent me a picture with a big smile on his face, waving at the camera. He has an incredible work-life balance. He has a great group of friends. And this was somebody who was working 12, 16 hours a day, right? Trying to get his yacht. And now he's equally as successful in his business, if not more so, because he can show up fully every day and be fully engaged because he's taking that time for himself. And he said he's the happiest he's ever been. Now that's success, and that's going beyond wealth. And I try to live that in my own way every day.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I think, we all kind of, especially a lot of the people that you're working with have like high impact, high stress lives, and sometimes feel like they might be drowning, and there's kind of no way out of that. And I love redefining what success actually looks like, because success can have can look many different ways, and along that journey, it's also kind of I think you do a really great job of helping people understand that success can look one way today and it can look another way tomorrow, but let's just kind of focus on today and not get too far down to tomorrow, because again, trying to have people kind of living in that moment is just, I think, so important for everybody's personal health.
Absolutely. And what's really fun about that too is that you'll find yourself, you'll find that you are more impactful that way. I've seen a lot of people 10x their business by actually focusing more on themselves and prioritizing their well-being. And in order to do that, it forces them to look at what's the most important in their business and put more energy in that and less energy in the bullshit.
Yeah, and so there's one thing that actually just came to mind as you were sharing. You are a single person, providing services, but I'd love for you to kind of talk about that you can't do everything for everybody. So you also have some amazing resources and individuals around you that can get even more specific into other parts. I'd love for our listeners to know, some of those other things that you have within kind of your trusted network of resources at Hodges Coaching.
I have a business coach. I have a wonderful assistant. It's my sister, actually. So there's a lot of deep trust there. Um, my grandfather is one of my advisors. I am learning from my clients all the time. I have an incredible nanny. I have wonderful friends. I live close to a ton of support people. And I have a large family that I can rely on at any time. So, yeah, and I have a cleaning person, right? Like I have whatever I need to help me really have as much enjoyment as my life and as possible, and put my energy where I really feel the most fulfillment and where it has the biggest impact.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to understanding what your worth is, what your time means, and then making sure that you put tools in place to help you kind of maximize that worth and maximize your time, and giving yourself that opportunity again to ultimately achieve that success and those needs and wants personally. So that's wonderful.
And that
Go
brings
ahead.
us full circle back to the beginning of the conversation, where one of the differentiating factors is it starts with empathy and compassion. Because if you are like, oh no, I can do it all, I'm going to be hardcore, you're not going to look for those extra resources and support to help you.
Yeah, and I don't know of any way of getting there without them. So yeah, I mean, that's a necessity for all of us. And so I'd love for you to just share real quick where everyone could find you online.
HodgesCoaching.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn, Sarah Hodges. I think
Yeah,
it's Sarah A. Hodges, but HodgesCoaching.com, definitely can find me there.
wonderful, wonderful. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you. This was fun. It was fun to be the person answering the questions instead of asking them for once, except for one of them.
Yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, no, I really do appreciate you more than maybe anyone here listening could know. But thank you for all that you do. I hope everyone has enjoyed listening to Sarah and sharing her insights. She is, again, a wonderful person and highly recommended. So if you're out there looking, please look up Sarah, and she will be more than happy to help, leading with empathy and understanding, because we've all been there. And for everybody, please have a great day. Keep on learning and strive for greatness. Make it a great one.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thanks for listening. If you found this conversation valuable, please leave a review on your favorite podcast platform or watch the conversion unfold on our YouTube channel @EstateSpace. We will see you next time on Beyond Wealth.